Hi everyone, and welcome back to Radio Geonosis, where we talk about Star Wars from a certain point of view. I'm Angie.
And I'm Jim.
And today we're going to be going over our favorite books. Now, we've done this show before, but we've not done it with Jim. So we're going to be talking about our favorite books.
Yep.
So before we do that, we're going to be doing some hot happenings this week. So mine, I've got two.
Okay.
I've got two hot happenings. Well, three. I'll do three. Okay, this weekend I did a show at in Laguna Beach, and I'm part of Saber Guild, and it was my first time doing 3 fights in one show.
There you go.
And I was so nervous. My son was there. I was so nervous. The first part of my fight, I messed up. I messed up like the first 3 moves. And then after that, I told myself, calm down, and then I finished out the show. I did hit Megan in the foot, though, and rode her the next day, made sure she was all right. But second, we've got D23 coming up this weekend. I will be there on Friday only.
Okay.
Because the tickets were little pricey,
Yeah.
so I'm only going to be there Friday. We're going to try me and Vince Capaldi, we're going to try and get into the event where they're showing The Mandalorian.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So we're going to try and do that. So that's my third hot happening, is that we're going to try and see some more sneak peek of The Mandalorian. So Jim, take it away.
Okay, well, to continue with D23 and The Mandalorian, it was announced today that there's going to be a little bit of exclusive merchandise for The Mandalorian.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be a Funko Pop. Probably The Mandalorian as a Funko Pop.
I don't know if I want to hit the Funko Pop booth, because at Comic-Con it was ridiculous.
And also they're doing a pin as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my understanding that they are limiting it to 1 per person, so 1 per badge holder, I presume. And they'll be available. I imagine if you don't get them Friday, you don't get them.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll try, but you know what? I'm not going to fight people.
Uh-huh.
I'll be in my Barris Offie costume, so I will not be in any shape or form to be fighting anybody over a pin.
Yeah.
Or a Funko Pop.
Yeah. Also in the news, it has been traveling the internet like a wind, but Ewan McGregor is in talks.
Yes.
To do most likely an Obi-Wan series for Disney Plus.
I am very excited. I thought we were going to talk about The Matrix. They're getting a 4th movie.
Yeah, but that's not Star Wars, so whatever. It's fine, yes. But anyway.
I like The Matrix.
Oh, I do too, but this is Star Wars. We'll talk about it later. So some sites are reporting it as confirmed. Some sites are reporting it as McGregor's in talks. Some sites are reporting rumors.
And I've been seeing things that it's already signed and done.
Right. So it's all over the place. My advice to everyone, don't hold your breath. Wait for an announcement from Disney, Lucasfilm. So wait, for the Star Wars website to pop it up and say, okay, we've done it. Okay. It is being reported in the trades, so like Variety's reporting it and Deadline's
so
reporting.
We're going to take it as gospel.
It's, Variety's a very reliable source because they're a trade publisher. So they've been doing it for years and years and years. And so I would be confident, perhaps.
Yeah.
But, just don't hold your breath until you see it from Disney or see it from Lucasfilm, and then we'll all have joy.
Then we'll all sing Kumbaya.
Right.
The thing is, I would like to see that, because I think we're going to see maybe some old Republic in there. I'd like to see a little bit of a Qui-Gon ghost. I'd like to see, maybe a run-in with Maul, maybe a run-in with Kira. I would love to see that.
There's a lot of possibilities, because you've got basically 19 years between episode 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to believe that, isn't
so
it?
you got Obi-Wan basically hanging out on Tatooine for 19 years. Does he leave the planet? Does he stay? Does he do other stuff? Like I said, we probably won't see a Qui-Gon ghost, because it has, from the Clone Wars, it was pretty much stated that Qui-Gon can't do that. He can't manifest as an image.
But Yoda said he would get training in episode 3, Yoda
Yeah,
said he
right.
would get training from Qui-Gon.
That is true. And so Yoda's training is complete, because remember, essentially Qui-Gon's training was incomplete because he died, before.
Right, before he finished.
Right, exactly. So anyway, but seeing Kira is a definite possibility. Doing a live action recreation of the Maul Kenobi fight from Rebels would be amazing.
But I don't know if they, since it was in Rebels,
It's canon.
right, it is canon, but what I'm saying is we may not see that in live action. We may see them run into each other again.
Well, I don't
He kills him twice, he
Yeah, but the thing was, based from Rebels, Maul did not know where Obi-Wan was. He didn't know if he was alive or dead or what.
Right.
And when he got that holocron from Ezra in Rebels, that's when he learned that Kenobi was definitely alive, and he knew exactly where. That's how he learned that.
You're right. So
Yeah.
they would have no run-in. But everybody else, there's a possibility they
definitely.
could bring just about anybody into the story.
And the Empire will be there. So you might see stormtroopers running around. Seven Sister, or any Inquisitor. They could, drop a new Inquisitor in there, no problem. So there's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah.
Also, the Star Wars Resistance Season 1 DVDs released.
Wow, I need to get that.
Yeah, they came out on Tuesday, August 20th. So they are in your local, wherever you buy DVDs. So Best Buy will have them, and Amazon you can get them from, or you might even go to like Barnes and Noble and pick it up.
Yeah.
Let's see what else.
I need all the Rebels too. I have all the Clone Wars except for the missing episodes.
Yeah.
So I need those, and then I need all the Rebels.
Mm-hmm. And then
those are terrific.
EA's announced some new content for Battlefront 2.
Wow.
They're doing 2 new modes, which is actually kind of a return, because they were in the older versions of the game. There's a co-op mode that they're going to do, so you can have 4 players do missions together.
Wow.
And then also they're going to be doing the I believe this is a return to the game from previous editions, the instant action mode. So basically you for solo, so you can just play by yourself. You just drop in, and it has all AI opponents and allies, and you can do missions by yourself without having to be online.
I don't play games, but it sounds intense.
It's pretty cool.
I don't have the patience to sit there and play.
And
my friend said he can do 6 hours with no problem. Like, what the? No, I can't do that.
Yeah, and also they're also adding the clone commandos.
Oh wow!
Into the game, so you can play a clone commando, which would be kind of cool.
Yes.
Specifically the Republic commandos, that particular armor set.
Right.
Also, 2 more things. Hasbro is made an announcement. They are going to, as a company, remove all plastic from their packaging.
So how would they package the toys?
Well, it'll be in a box or something. I don't know exactly. So
they're going to cut down a tree instead.
Well, I'm sure you can use recycled.
Hopefully, yes, recycling.
I'm sure they're going to use recycled paper and stuff like that. But the idea is to eliminate plastics.
Yeah.
So things like bags, blister packs, like what's in the action figures are held in, so that kind of stuff. So I'm sure they're just going to figure out new packaging. They're going to begin doing it in 2020. They plan to be finished by 2022, so everything that they make will be either in a cardboard box or some kind of something to,
But does Hasbro still make Star Wars toys?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not changing. And like the items themselves will probably still be plastic, like action figures and whatever. It's just that what they're contained in will be much more earth friendly.
But you're going to have to open them. No more mint in box.
Well, I mean, you may not. If it's like they could make like a box with an open window in it, and you might actually be able to touch the figure or something, as opposed to it being sealed.
Right.
So it might be open to the environment in that regard. So sealed in box may not mean as much anymore.
No.
And things like games and stuff, they're usually in a cardboard box anyway. So.
Right.
Finally, Adam Savage of the Mythbusters fame, the redheaded one.
Yes.
Yeah. He basically runs I'm not sure if it's a company or he does run a site called Tested. And he does a lot of maker kind of stuff. And of course, his huge thing is cosplay. And this actually happened last year, but the videos were released just recently. For Silicon Valley Comic Con, he and a friend by the name of Daryl Maloney did Knights of Ren cosplays.
Right.
So they made original Knights of Ren cosplays because nobody's really done Knights of Ren.
Do they know what? Well, they might know somebody who knows somebody in order to get the accuracy.
Well, I mean, they're making the accuracy themselves, and they're just going by reference photos from the various and sundry, source books
like
and
photo
whatever.
shoots and stuff like that.
Exactly. And
I think Vanity Fair showed them.
Right. And Adam did the grenade face guy, so it had the cross pattern on his helmet, and they made the whole costume.
Wow.
And Daryl did they're calling him the Force Monk or something like that. So he has kind of a more of a demonic looking helmet, which is really cool looking. And so they did a 4-day build, and they put these costumes together from nothing to finished
in 4 days.
In 4 days. Maloney's he's well known for 3D printing, and he has a YouTube channel of his own, and he does a lot of 3D prints and makes cool stuff. And so he did the helmets and some of the armor and all that. And Adam did a lot of the soft parts for the costumes, like the jackets and the.
I like the way they, when you watch a YouTube, builder, a cosplayer, they make it look so easy.
Oh, yeah.
And then you try and you're like, all right, 3 hours later, I'm still not even getting this small pattern.
Yeah. And well, I mean, Adam's been doing it forever and ever, so he's darn good. But anyway, those videos are up on YouTube at the Tested website, the Tested channel.
I'm going to look.
And they're really fun to watch. The 4 videos are the build, one for each day, and then the 5th video is them actually at the con at Silicon Valley.
And I can understand why they didn't. Was the convention last year or was it this year?
Yeah, they did it at last year's convention, but they didn't release the videos till recently.
Probably because they couldn't.
That's possible.
Because the costumes weren't released, and neither were the photos until about a month or so ago.
Yeah.
The Vanity Fair photo shoot was the first time I saw anything like that, and so they may not have been able to release it because there really wasn't reference a year ago.
Yeah, I mean the only references, is
from The Last Jedi, which is very little.
Well, you mean Force Awakens?
No, The Last Jedi is when Luke is. They're showing.
That's Force Awakens.
Okay, where they're in the rain.
Right.
They're in the rain. Okay.
That's that scene, yes.
Okay, but what I was thinking about was in The Last Jedi, Luke goes over to oh my gosh, I'm losing it.
Cloud City?
No, in The Last Jedi, he goes over to his bed and to Ben's bed.
Yeah. When they were at the
I'm getting the two mixed up.
You're basically the Force flashback.
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
So that's pretty much it for me in terms of.
That's really interesting because I do want to see that.
Yeah, it was really cool to watch, and I'm like, because he made 2 lightsabers just out of junk that he had in his lab,
I think that's how they originally did it.
Well,
too.
that's pretty much, that's exactly how they did it. They just found random things and put it together.
Yeah, but this looks good. This looks like a lightsaber.
Exactly, and he did that, and he just I like this, So anyway, that's pretty much it for hot happenings.
All right, so books. We're going to be going over books. So this is what I wrote last time when we did the show, and before Star Wars hit the silver screen, it was a packed theater. The story was presented to an eager public via printed word.
Yep.
And that was in May. Let's see. It was released 5 months prior to the movie.
Yeah, it was during the holiday season of 1976. I had it.
Did you really?
Yeah, I read the book before the movie.
Now,
came out.
when it was on the since you've read it, right? Since you read it and got it off the book stand back in the day, what made you want to grab that book?
The original trailer, which came out during that time as well.
Okay, so they were saying the trailer came out because I remember it, but I don't remember it. So it I don't remember that part is what I'm saying. I've seen the movie in 1977, but what I'm saying is, so there was a trailer.
Yeah.
And did they say a book available
No.
for purchase?
No, I don't think so. I think
It was just people who wandered into the bookstore.
Well, yeah, I just kind of, I wasn't sure that there was going to be a book. I mean, I didn't know. I was only 8 years old at the time. But I did remember, like, because, you know, I would go out with my parents to go shopping or whatever, and I saw the book, I'm like, that's that movie.
Oh, I see.
And then I'm like, I want that.
So you happened upon it.
Yeah, pretty much. And then so I grabbed it.
So when they said no, you were screaming and yelling and dragging you and the book on the way.
No, not that. I'm not that bad.
I'm kidding.
Kind of.
I'm kidding.
Maybe with the action figures, though.
But the book, he was smart.
Yeah.
You know, George was seriously smart if you stop and think about it. He was smart in the fact that he put a book out prior to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then he knew that people would want toys. He did his homework on this.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a kid at heart, so, you know, it's like, what would I want if I'm 10?
Right, and he gave the whole galaxy continuity.
Yeah.
You know, he
yeah.
gave the whole galaxy. He didn't just give us a movie. He gave us a galaxy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And in terms of the books also, until the Disney purchase, all the novelizations came out before the movies.
Right.
All of them did,
Except
pretty much.
for, what about, I had heard about the Old Republic, that nothing was to be written about the Old Republic pretty much until Episode 1.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, but that's a different thing. I'm just talking about the novelizations of the movies. Okay.
Oh, okay. I get what you're
yeah.
saying.
So, like, you know, A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, the books came out before the movies. Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, all the books came out before the movies. And I read every single book before the movie came out. You know, I'm a spoiler monkey. I don't care, because once I see it on the screen, I'll find context for things that I read in the book. And, you know, the books aren't exactly to the film, because usually
You can get a little bit more in the books.
well, it's not just that. The books are usually written from a previous version of the screenplay. So, for example, A New Hope was written, it says written by George Lucas, but it was actually ghostwritten by Alan Dean Foster.
Now, did George say, I have this idea, I want you to write it this way?
Well, he had the script, because he wrote the script, and then he hired Foster to write the novelization from
to give
the
it
script.
a little bit more...
Right. And he gave him I believe it was the second draft shooting script.
Wow.
Which is not the final shooting
See,
script
this
for
is why I
A New
have
Hope.
Jim on the show.
And the final shooting script for A New Hope in 1976 was a fourth draft, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's what they worked with. But Foster was working with the second draft, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure. And then, so the book does have stuff in it that's definitely not the same as the movie. For example, Red Squadron in the movie is Blue Squadron in the book.
Wow.
And the space battle was way different in terms of how they described chasing around the Death Star. Like the trench was in a different place in the book.
Oh. Maybe
than the movie.
Maybe for the movie they needed to do it. It's like a lot of books, when you read them and then you watch the movie, there's some things that are omitted because of time frame, because of, you know, the way they're describing it. It's not going to be exactly like you would see in the movie. And I think, you know, a book can give it more, you know, I like a book because it allows your mind to really run away.
Well, yeah, it allows more depth. It allows more background.
Yeah.
And then that's the difference between a book and, you know, and a film. You know, a film, it doesn't need all those words to, like, show a picture of a thing or a spaceship or a planet or whatever.
George was smart in the fact that he gave you a movie, he gave you the preview of the movie, and then said, you know, then put out a book. because then what it caused was a thirst to see it in the movie theater.
Oh, yeah.
And so then that's why you had, the Mayan's Chinese theater packed with people, because they already had read the book.
Yeah, some people, yeah. And, by the time May 25th had coming,
5 months.
I was losing my mind. My 9-year-old mind was going crazy. And my dad was very pleased to take me. And it was a school night. And he says, you can stay up late because it's a movie. And it was really cool. And, of course, I saw the movie and lost my mind. And it was great.
And that's all she wrote.
Now, favorite books. Did you? How did you want to talk about this? Because we didn't.
Let's see now. I did a top 15.
Yeah.
And so.
I don't have a top 15, but you could argue that I do, because they're series. So there could be.
I'll give you a couple. Kenobi, my all-time favorite.
Oh, that's a great book.
Oh my God, book. It was a Western. It was excitement. There was some romance.
Yep.
And it really made me fall in love with reading Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because that was the very first book I read, and I think you suggested it for me.
Oh, it's a great book. Yeah, I might have.
You might have. Because how would I have stumbled upon that?
Yeah, Kenobi is basically Shane in space.
Yes.
And John Jackson Miller knocked it out of the park.
He did.
He was really good. I love that book.
Yes, he did, and I really, really loved the book. For me, it was exciting. I couldn't put it down.
Oh, yeah.
It was very exciting, and it led me to buy all of the extended universe. Now I'm buying the ones that are now canon.
Right.
I'm buying them slowly,
right,
but I have everything else.
Yeah. I pretty much had bought them as they came out throughout the years. All the way back to the first. Technically EU novel, which is Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Yep.
Came out in 1978, and I read it in 1978.
Yes.
And all just everything up forward.
And now this came out prior to Empire Strikes Back, correct?
Splinter, yes, because it came out in 78.
Right. It took us from A New Hope to Empire.
Right, and it's not all that time in between, because it's like 2.5 years or something.
Right.
And it's just a very, very tiny little thing. But it's the planet that's in that book, it's called Mimban, is actually later mentioned in the Clone Wars, because they talk about the puddle jumpers of Mimban. But
I love the way he weaves it all in.
Oh yeah, it's also
really
in Solo. Yeah, Mimban's in Solo too. That's the planet that they go to all the mud and all that junk.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Mimban. So, but so you have Mimban, and then one of my favorite.
Making that book canon, by the way.
Well, making that place canon, but not the whole storyline behind it.
True. I didn't even think of that.
Because the Luke and Leia plot line that exists in there is technically still Legends, but the location is canon. And the fact that there were clones there is canon. And the fact that Solo was there is canon. But the Luke and Leia storyline that exists in there, not yet. But we'll see. But that leads to one of my favorite books, which came out in 1979, and which is a trilogy of books by Brian Daley. And Brian Daley is he's the man also behind. He wrote the radio play adaptations for the radio dramas.
Wow.
For the original trilogy. So A New Hope, Empire, and Return.
People were probably glued to that too.
And but he wrote 3 books talking about Han Solo's adventures before A New Hope, and starting with Han Solo at Star's End, Han Solo's Revenge, and then Han Solo in The Lost Legacy. It's a trilogy, and it takes place in a part of the galaxy called the corporate sector, and so it's kind of outside of the Empire, and it has like a different faction of people controlling that local area, and basically stuff that happens in there. And it's super fun. It really details Han's character, Chewie's character, in a very meaningful way. It shows the lovable rogue, and it's really well done. And because basically the first one's a prison break. The second one is essentially a gunfighter kind of Western kind of thing, and the third one is kind of a lost treasure, kind of almost an Indiana Jones type adventure.
Wow.
But it was written before Raiders of the Lost Ark came out.
Now I have it. So see, now we're seeing how they're getting their ideas too.
Yeah.
And I do like that. I do like that they're giving each character their background.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love that. My second favorite was Darth Plagueis.
Oh, that's a fantastic book.
It's
too.
very, very political,
Mm-hmm.
but you see the conniving Sneeves, how do you say his name? Sheeves. You see him kill his family without any,
Well,
he kills them in an airplane.
Well,
he's flying, or a ship.
It's in a ship, and
yeah, he kills them without any remorse.
And it was kind of almost instinctual, and he used the Force to do it.
Yes, he did.
So, and I don't think it was Force lightning. I think he just
went, like we see Vader do it to some people.
Some massive telekinesis, basically.
The best part of that book was the end. Because at first I'm reading and it's like, yeah, it's going along. And then at the end I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because the way he killed his master.
Oh, yeah.
It was clever. His master never saw it coming, and he never knew that he was behind it all.
Oh, yeah. Well, and what I liked about that book also was like the amount of time it took, for the through plot line, because it actually starts with Plagueis, and it
crawling out of that thing, crawling out of wherever he was. He was in some caves and stuff.
Well, you see Plagueis kill his master,
right?
Darth Tenebris, and who's a Bith, so he's a musician, I guess, too. Maybe, I don't know.
He what do they say? Moonlights as a musician.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a Bith being a Sith, but whatever.
A Bith Sith. It flows. You can do that. But yeah, going all the way back to Darth Tenebris, and then Plagueis killing him, and then him beginning to understand and learn to study the midichlorians,
Yes.
and the whole, manipulate the midichlorians to create life.
I think Plagueis actually does. If according to EU, I say where Anakin's mother happened to be like walking somewhere, and she actually got like a radiation from the midichlorians and became pregnant.
She got blasted by the Force.
Yes, exactly. She
Oh,
just
my
happened to be
goodness.
sitting outside, and some sun rays hit her, and there you go.
Yeah, kind of an interesting way to, she goes home, Mom, I'm pregnant. How did that happen?
Well, at this point, I think she was a slave.
She might have been.
Yeah.
Gardula the Hutt was her master at the time. So.
Right. She might have been a slave from the time she was young.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't have the entire backstory for Shmi, which would be something to...
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Somebody write it, please.
Okay, yeah, get on that. Yeah, Plagueis, I love that book.
I know it's not considered, canon, but I just really enjoyed it.
Until they come up with something else, I'm kind of leaving that in my head canon in terms of, like, leaving it in that space, because right now nothing contradicts it really, and so I don't say why not, and Lucasfilm could just, the story group go, well, we'll just make Plagueis canon.
Yeah, we just slip that one in.
Yeah, that'd be
Make
cool.
Kenobi one. Okay, what's your next one?
Let me open up my thing since it closed. Tablet. Okay, here we go. I'm going with, I'm going to mention my favorite novelization of the movies. We have 10 novelizations, episodes 1 through 8, and of course Solo and Rogue One. My favorite novelization is Episode 3.
Really?
Revenge of the Sith by Matt Stover. I was crying by page 20.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's a really good prologue in there, and it kind of talks about Anakin he's having a lot of dreams at this point, and they're not just about Padme, dying or whatever, but they're talking about his significance in the universe as a whole, and it talks about the darkness being like a dragon.
Wow.
And he's having this dragon kind of like facing him and stuff, and it also really goes deep into Obi-Wan and Anakin's friendship, and they're best buds. They do everything together. And they're of course fighting the Clone War together. Blah blah blah. I mean, we see it in the Clone Wars show, but the book really gives you a lot of insight into that friendship, and it really, really, it's beautiful.
The movie made me cry. It always makes me cry.
Yeah.
It always makes me cry because it's so, you see this friendship totally destroyed by his total misunderstanding of the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, and the way Matt wrote it, I think it just hit me really well. I mean, the other novelizations are good. Don't get me wrong. I love them all pretty much.
But it's this one.
That one, it moved me the most, I would say.
Yeah. And if you're crying by page 20, that's
I was losing it.
That's hard. And I know you've never read Twilight, but I read A New Moon and I was depressed. I was depressed. I was reading this and I'm like, okay, this is so down. I'm depressed. I mean, my heart just crumbled. But, I understand the feeling, and the books can take you there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
My next one, because I have, I'll do 4. My next one was The Jedi Apprentice, 14 books. I love the stories.
Oh, yeah.
The Jedi Apprentice is so good, and it's so adventurous. You see Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan develop this friendship.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so good. Oh, number 14, I'm sorry, is what I love the most. I think that one, I loved all of them. I love how you see Obi-Wan fall for these girls.
He's such a player.
He is. He falls for these girls, and he ends up leaving the Jedi Order for one. And it was just moving. I'm like, but then he realized he was wrong, and how Qui-Gon didn't want to take him back, which I don't blame him. But it's really, really good. Those are really good books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
You have another one?
Oh, yeah, I've got a bunch.
Well, we only have a little bit of time, so we got to get moving.
Well, I'm going to put in what I call my favorite series overall.
Okay.
And it's the 10 or 11 book series, the X-Wing series.
Oh, we haven't gotten to those yet. I have them.
Yeah, starting in 1996 with X-Wing by Mike Stackpole.
They look fantastic.
Oh, they're wonderful books. All of them are great. The first 4 are done by Mike Stackpole, and these are taking place during about 2 years after Return of the Jedi, and it leads to the retaking Coruscant and a bunch of other stuff. And we meet a lot of really good characters, and it expands the whole Rogue Squadron lore from the films into these book series. And there's also a series of comics, by the way, called Rogue Squadron. There's like a whole huge graphic novel omnibus on that as well. And the first 4 books are specifically about Rogue Squadron. And so it's Wedge, Wes Jansen, who you hear about in Empire, Hobby, those guys, and then kind of fill out the squadron with some more people, which are really cool. And then starting with the 5th book, Aaron Alston picks up and he creates another squadron called Wraith Squadron. And the Wraith Squadron is a little bit more kind of like, it's kind of more like the Magnificent Seven meets Kelly's Heroes.
Oh, wow.
So, he has some ne'er-do-wells in his squadron. And they're not quite as happy, good people, but they're not just X-wing pilots either. They're also kind of like super commandos as well.
You got to do what you got to do.
They do a bunch of secret missions, and it's really fun. I won't talk about it more since you haven't read it yet, but they're really good. And
I'll get to it. Because you know what I think is great, and what I love is that while I was collecting all these books, I realized, oh my gosh, there's like 200 books.
Mm-hmm.
This is an entire galaxy of stories. And they went after, because, when I went to go see the very last movie, which was Return of the Jedi, I thought, oh, is that it? See, I was the layman back in the day. I didn't realize there were books, comics, all this other stuff, role play games. I didn't realize that there was all of that. I just thought the movies, they're over. And it bummed me out that there was nothing more.
Well, what was interesting is that in that period, there were only 7 novels written. 7. Total. Done.
So after the movie is when everything else came.
Right. And because, the comics finished in 86. There were only 7 novels. You had Splinter of the Mind's Eye, you had the Han Solo trilogy, then you had a Lando Calrissian trilogy.
Yes.
Written by L. Neil Smith. And then later, in 87, the RPG came out. So it was way after the movies were done.
So it was sprinkling out at first.
Yeah. And then in 91 is when the fire hose came on. and Timothy Zahn came in, wrote they
just opened the gate and let everybody in.
And then the Zahn trilogy came in. Then Dark Horse came in with their comics, and then.
But George had to look this all over and approve it, correct?
Well, he didn't necessarily sign off on every little detail himself, because he had the licensing people doing a lot of that too. Yeah, Charles Lippincott and stuff, and I'm sure they were signing off some things in his name. If it was like a big thing, like there was a directive, you cannot kill Luke Skywalker, stuff like that, certain things that they could not do.
But sadly, Chewie was killed.
Much later.
Yeah.
Much later. During the...
Spoiler alert on some book.
Yeah. And that was during the Vong series, basically, the New Jedi Order series, basically. And that was much later, but... And, turning Han Solo into an alcoholic. And
oh my gosh, it just
crazy.
goes downhill from there.
Believe me, I was like, if you're going to chill Chewie, you're going to have to throw a planet at him.
That's right. I did like Dark Lord, The Rise of Vader. I thought that was really good. He actually goes to Padme's, to where Leia is. Mm-hmm. He's on the planet. He's on
Alderaan.
Yeah, he's on Alderaan, and they almost meet.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think he would have. In the original movie, he doesn't want to kill her. For some reason, he has this feeling, don't kill her.
Well,
not that he doesn't really realize that that's his daughter, but he knows not to kill her.
Well, he has to get information from her first.
But I think something in himself said, I can't kill her.
Well, possibly.
I don't know. I'm reading that from a parenting kind of mindset.
And this is a really way after the fact kind of reading as well. Because the day you saw the movie, we had no idea Vader was her father.
Right.
And because we didn't even learn that until 1983.
Right. But he didn't want her dead.
No. Well, no, because
he needed to get information.
Yeah, she had knowledge. She was a rebel spy, so we have traced the rebel spies to her.
Right, but here we have Tarkin wanting to kill her.
No, because he's a meanie.
Yeah, he's not a nice guy.
And he doesn't care. He's like, fear will be the blah 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 blah. And
we'll keep the planets in line.
Right, yeah. Fear will keep the local systems in line. Yeah.
He didn't care. He was a cold-blooded man.
That's okay.
My husband's perfect for that spot. He's
You said it, not me.
He said he was perfect for it too.
Okay.
He said it when I had him at the event. He met everybody. He met Vader, and he said I'm perfect for the job. He admitted it.
Well, that's good to go then. Yeah. All right. But yeah. But yeah, what I liked about that Dark Lord book, what I liked. that book in concert with the episode 3 novelization and the book that came right before it. It's called.
See, even you get like that. It's just too much
it's that
going.
book that was in that thing. I read it as there's a book that takes place right before episode 3. And it talks about the Keto Nemoidia thing. You know that thing on Keto Nemoidia doesn't count. It actually happens in that book. And I'll be damned if I remember. But anyway, that book, episode 3 and Dark Lord, you can read it as a trilogy.
Yes.
And it's very good. And I think it was actually released as a trilogy in a kind of
It
a big
is.
book.
You're right. You're right. I have it. It's all together because it's I think it's Vader, the Dark Lord rises, and then another one.
Well, it's
it's not Order 66, right?
No. It's something like Annihilation or something. I can't remember now. And then episode 3, and then Vader, Dark Lord is last because it's chronological.
Right. But you could, in that book, you could feel his pain.
Oh yeah, he's getting used to the suit,
and he's questioning.
Oh yeah, definitely, because he's like, did Palpatine make the suit intentionally messed up?
Right, and he's even questioning about, about how he became this way.
Yeah, was he being deceived? Because it's like, together we can learn to find the secret to life and all that other stuff.
Oh, he was never going to share that with him.
Well,
he already knew it.
If Palpatine even really knew it himself.
He kind of did. He had notes from Plagueis,
right,
but not all, because Plagueis didn't write everything down.
And
he left it in his noggin.
Yeah, Plagueis didn't share all that knowledge with him yet. So when Palpatine got the opportunity to kill him, yeah, he had incomplete information and certain skills,
But here it is, like we were talking about in the beginning, these books give so much continuity to the storyline.
Oh, yeah.
So not only are we at the movies, we're going past it and discussing books that are going along with the movies.
I mean,
he was smart in that sense, because I don't know, prior to his writing books, were movies made out of books.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever were.
No. The treatments for Star Wars, he did write down, but they weren't a novel or anything like that.
Right, but what I'm saying is, other movies, were they based on books? I don't really remember. Like The Godfather, was it based on a book? No.
Yes.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, Mario Puzo.
Okay, so no, George wasn't the first one to do it.
Oh, no. No, Coppola pulled that from Mario Puzo's book, and the original Godfather. Anyway, I don't know about the subsequent sequels, but the original Godfather.
We're not that good. But yes, that's what I love, is that we have all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But he was smart. He was a smart businessman. He was smart to give us so much more of the galaxy, and I'm really grateful that he did.
Oh yeah, me too.
All right, so that's going to do it for our show this week. Mm-hmm. Next week we're going to do a surprise show. So we're not going to tell you what we're doing, but we're going to surprise you with something.
Hopefully she'll tell me what we're doing.
That's questionable. I may spring it on you and see if you have done any homework on any. You got to study all of Star Wars.
Yeah, that's easy to do.
Since we have 200 of the extended universe books and comics, and now we're going on 50 of the newer ones, because we even have kids books too.
Oh yeah.
So we've got a lot. You've got a lot of studying to do this weekend while I'm at D23 and babysitting. By the way, I'll be babysitting.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
So please follow us on Facebook at Radio Geonosis. Please follow us on Instagram at Radio Geonosis. And I'm sorry, the Facebook page is Radio Geonosis 2.0. Please like and subscribe on our Radio Geonosis YouTube channel.
And don't forget, we're on Twitter now.
Yes.
At rgeonosis. And Twitter page is running fine. So
good for you. And Jim will keep us updated on all the fun tweets.
I hope so.
All right. So from us here at Radio Geonosis, we'll see you next time.
And may the force of others be with you.
Bye.